Good evening and welcome to the Job Search Solution radio program where we talk about looking for a job, changing jobs, changing careers, hiring. And as always, we begin with a prayer. Dear God, grant us thy peace and thy mercy, thy will be done. And just a few minutes, as we do every Wednesday evening, we're going to welcome Rich Levinsky of East 57th Street Partners, who's going to be talking about consultants in the workplace, the situation that they're in, and always has good advice because he's in the trenches. He's only been in the trenches since 1988, and so he really knows his stuff. I wanted to continue talking in this session and subsequent sessions, as long as we need to, about references. This is probably one of the most problematic challenges that both employers and candidates run into. And why are references so important to an employer? Well, employers, as we've mentioned before, don't want to make a mistake. They're scared to do the wrong thing. They're scared to hire a person that makes them look like a doofus. And so they definitely check references. Well, I say that. A recent study said that 81% of the employers that were surveyed said that they checked references. I'd be willing to bet you that only about 30% of them do at best. It's probably one of the most important things that they can do, but they don't do it. I don't know why, but they don't. If you're a candidate, you definitely don't want to take your references for granted. You want to be careful with your references. When you begin your job search, you need to get a hold of the references that you have in mind. And you need to tell them, I'm looking for a job. I'd like to use you for a reference if you don't mind. And I will call you every time that I am to the point when in a job search that the company is going to check a reference. I won't surprise you. I'll let you know what kind of job it is and what they're looking for, and give you advice on why I'm a good candidate for it, if you will allow that. 90% of the people that you talk to are going to do that, and they're going to be willing to do that. But it's important that you call them first and tell them you're looking for a job, and then call them before you give them as a reference, and tell them who's going to be calling them, what kind of job it is, and what kind of reference you would be asked for. What you want to do is be sure that you have enough references to where you don't overwork your references. I just had it last month where I had a candidate, and he was involved in 3 or 4 cycles of interviewing, and one of his references was also a candidate of mine. And he said, I'm so sick of giving the guy the reference. I mean, I've done it 4 times, and he really didn't do it. He only did it twice. But he said he was sick of it and that he wasn't going to do it anymore. And he didn't know how to tell the candidate that he wasn't going to do it anymore. So don't overwork your references. Usually you only have to give 3, maybe 4 references, come up with 6 or 7, so that you don't have that problem of overworking your references. Because with cell phones the way it is today, some people just don't answer their cell phone and won't do it. Provide references only when the employer asks for them. Some people ask for them verbally. Some people want them written down. Some people put their references on their resume. Don't do that. There's nothing more embarrassing or making you feel more stupid than finding out that one of your references got hired in the job that you were interviewing for, because somebody saw his or her name on your resume, called them up, started talking about the job. Obviously, the jobs that your references might have are similar to the kind that you've been in, and find out that they were the ones that got the job. And all you did was provide a competition for yourself. Don't do that. Provide references when you're asked for them. Reference letters on LinkedIn and other recommendations like that are okay, but they're usually pretty generic. and most employers won't go for it. They're going to want to talk to a particular specific reference about a particular specific job. And make sure your references, when you call them and say, Mr. or Ms. Smith from XYZ company is going to call you, and this is what the job we're talking about. This is the job that I'm being considered for. These are the important points of the job, and they want to know that I'm able to do this or able to do that. Treacherous references happen all the time, and no one likes to admit it. If you think there's going to be some problem with your reference, you got fired in your last job, or you had an argument with your boss, or you think you're going to have some kind of problem in a reference, you need to prepare the hiring authority, the interviewing authority for that. You need to tell them that there was a difficult time and you were going through a difficult stage or whatever, and prepare them for that. And you have to counterbalance that with good references from the same place, even if they're not your immediate boss. If you've been fired for cause, then you've got a real problem to overcome, and you're going to have to really explain that to a prospective employer and really come up with some real significant references that are going to outweigh the negatives. People look for negatives. They're looking for just as many reasons not to hire you as they are to hire you. And I would be willing to bet you that 1 out of 10 times a candidate is strongly being considered for a job, he gets eliminated because of his references. So really keep that stuff in mind. We're going to be covering this the next couple of weeks because there's a lot to be said for it. All right, we're going to take a short break. Stay tuned. This is Tony Bashir with the Job Search Solution.